Durban has historically been the promised land for Koreans, where Hong Soo-hwan became world champion in 1974 and where Korean team made it into the final 16 in the 2010 World Cup. It also became the place where Pyeongchang finally clinched the bid to host the Winter Olympics after 12 years of trying. As they say, third time's the charm. Let's find out more about Pyeongchang, the upcoming host of the 2018 Winter Olympics. Join us after the newsreel.
At long last, the city of Pyeongchang has gotten its wish of hosting the Winter Olympics. The decision was made at the 123rd IOC General Assembly held in Durban, South Africa on July 6th. Pyeongchang beat out its main competitor Munich to be selected as the host of the 2018 Winter Olympics. Although Pyeongchang has been trying for the Olympic bid since 2000, it lost out in two previous attempts to Vancouver, Canada and Sochi, Russia. However, it clinched an overwhelming victory this time, winning 63 votes out of 95. It was the clear winner above traditional winter sports strongholds of Munich, Germany and Annecy, France. With this victory, Korea will be hosting the Winter Olympics 70 years after its first participation in the St. Moritz Games in 1948. With the success of Pyeongchang, Korea has earned a Grand Slam title for hosting all of the world's four major sporting events: the Summer and Winter Olympics, the World Cup, and the World Athletics Championships. So, what was it that made the judges vote in favor of Pyeongchang this time? On today's In Focus, we discuss the competitiveness of Pyeongchang as well as the preparation that need to be made in order to make the 2018 Winter Olympic Games a success.
Welcome back. To discuss Pyeongchang's successful bid for the Winter Olympics and its future plans, we have two expert guests in the studio. Sitting on my right is Professor Yoon Gang-ro. He is the president of International Sport Diplomacy Institute. Welcome to the program. I understand you also served on the bidding committee for 2010 and 2014 for Pyeongchang. Sitting on my left is Professor Yeo Hyun-duk. You are also the Dean of International Affairs at Seoul School of Integrated Science and Technology. You also were on the advisory board for the bidding committee. Welcome to the program. Well, let's start with discussing on Pyeongchang as the location for the Winter Olympics. In fact, Pyeongchang hadn't been very well known to the outside world until the bidding process started about 12 years ago. So please tell us a little bit about Pyeongchang.
Okay, the Pyeongchang is located in Gangwon Province. Its total area is larger than that of Seoul, even though the population is very few. And Pyeongchang literally means peace and prosperity. Pyeongchang boasts of pristine nature, of clean water, clean air, and good environmentally friendly area. Is often referred to as the heavenly blessed land. Pyeongchang used to be a candy city always, but now, as of July 7th, Pyeongchang has become the hub of the Olympic movement and Olympic host city until 2018. Korean people is very proud of the selection of Pyeongchang as the host city.
Indeed, it's a big transformation for Pyeongchang. It used to be a pristine and environmentally friendly place. Now it has become the host city. It will be the host city of the Winter Olympics. Professor Yeo, would you like to talk a little bit about Pyeongchang as well?
Pyeongchang is also selected as a trial reason for low carbon green growth because it preserves the best quality of natural environment and protecting water resources, activating ecology and ecological diversity, and producing clean energy through recycling.
Let's talk about this time successful bidding by Pyeongchang. To many people, although we had somewhat optimistic prospect for the result of this selection, we were surprised by the majority vote in the primary voting. So please tell us a little bit about the voting.
Yes, voting, as I served as Secretary General of the two previous bids, and Pyeongchang used to win on the first round balloting. But second round, we always lost out by our rivals. And this time, I heard there is a conclusion of the voting announced by the Jack Rogue, IOC president, and I sense that Pyeongchang would be a winner. And then all the foreign media also suspected, and speculated that Pyeongchang would be most probably the winner this time for the 2018 Olympic Winter Games. And Pyeongchang won by a large margin. 63 votes is a record number, and Pyeongchang was lost out from 2010 by Vancouver by 3 votes only, and for 2014 lost out by Sochi by 4 votes only. This time, the Pyeongchang's winning over 2 rivalry cities of Munich and Annecy. It was a remarkable achievement and victory of entire Korean people and Korean sports diplomacy. And the Munich and Annecy were very strong candidates, but because of the excellent presentation strategy and lobbying activities, Pyeongchang could get such a landslide victory at this very important moment in Durban, South Africa.
Yes, to many observers and to Koreans especially, that was a quite surprising result. Actually, it was a pleasant surprise, but I think the margin was one of the biggest in recent history of IOC voting. Could you tell us a little bit more about the voting and the outcome of the voting this time?
Sure, right. At the arrival before voting, Pyeongchang delegation did take a very cautious attitude. They were keeping low-key profile, low-key manner, in spite of their internal competence. But however, the result was very dramatic. Also, it shows how strong the nationwide efforts are. Our overwhelming victory was predicted in the first round of voting. The question for Pyeongchang was to win majority votes, but the result was satisfied.
I see. So Pyeongchang finally got the victory, a victory that Pyeongchang really deserves. But they have had a very difficult time for more than a decade. So could you tell us a little bit about the ups and downs of the long process which brought victory to Pyeongchang?
It was a long journey and unforgettable stories behind. But Pyeongchang, in his first attempt, I think in Prague, Czech, 2003, because the Olympic Games always decided 7 years prior to the real hosting of the Games. At the time, Pyeongchang won the first ballot. Pyeongchang obtained 51 votes, and Vancouver 40, and Salzburg, Austria, got 16 votes. Yeah. And since there was no majority obtained city, the city who obtained the least amount of votes supposed to be eliminated, and Salzburg was eliminated. Yeah. And the second round, and we expected that, I still vividly remember the surprising look of the Jack Rogue when he looked at the result paper handed over to him by the scrutineer, and then second round voting proceeded, and then the winner was announced 1 hour later. The result was, disappointingly Vancouver. Mm-hmm. And later, it was well known that Pyeongchang won Vancouver in the first ballot by 11 votes, is a great margin. And then it was such a bitter-sweet memory, because Pyeongchang at the time was not well known to the world, and many IOC members, even foreign press, called Pyeongchang as Pyongyang, as the capital city of North Korea. Right. So at the end of the reception, celebrating the victory of Vancouver, hosted by IOC president, he mentioned that, well, Pyeongchang is now engraved in the world sport map. Mm-hmm. And that's when Pyeongchang is recognized as the World Olympic candidate city. And for 2014 bid, the second attempt, we were quite sure that at that time we could win the right to host the Olympic Games. But at the time, Sochi was not very favorable in terms of technical assessment by the IOC Evaluation Commission members. And they had no facilities, and all the infrastructures and the accessibility to the Sochi, and all technical assessments is, we call it, underdog. And Pyeongchang, always the favorite city and also the front runner from start to finish. And after the result, the report of the result of the Evaluation Commission visit, Pyeongchang was considered as the front runner and would win this time for 2014. There was a lot of letter of the encouragement from our former competitor, Vancouver, Chairman John Forlong, and don't worry, Pyeongchang this time will win. And New York Times reported also 2 days before the Guatemala IOC session, they also predicted that Pyeongchang would be the winner for sure. And we never know until we open the envelope the result of the ballot. And then we are quite sure, but at the time, the Russian President Putin, Vladimir Putin, visited, and then he had a very good showcase bringing the Bolshoi performance on ice. They brought all the equipments, and then they installed and set up the ice rink in Guatemala, the very city of the IOC session, where the IOC members will cast ballot. And that was against the IOC ethical rule, but by the time IOC won them, they already shown the performance to the IOC members and people. And then I think they successfully managed to showcase their excellence on the ice. And as a result, the announcement ceremony saw that Sochi won over Pyeongchang as well. At that time, Sochi got 51 in the first round, Pyeongchang 36, Sochi 34, and then Salzburg 25. We always won in the first ballot, but the second round voting, all vote siphoned to Sochi, and Sochi won over Pyeongchang 51-47. This time 4 vote difference. That was a bitter memory. But the IOC members, they sent a letter of encouragement. Actually, you won the war, even though you lost the battle in Guatemala. So please don't get disappointed. Try again. And the third time, you are 100% certainly sure will win. But this is the moment of the decision to try again. And we believe that third time charm and third time is lucky.
It worked.
And it was a many record on the number 3.
I see. So because of those 2 painful memories, maybe this time's success is much sweeter, even sweeter than usual. So I guess it hasn't been easy, but Pyeongchang really deserves this third time's victory. And I think the world is also agreeing with Korea and Pyeongchang that now it's turn for Korea and Pyeongchang to host the Winter Olympic Games. Anything that you would like to say about the difficulties or ups and downs during the process?
Yeah. All the proverb says blessing comes in a disguise. It has been long hardship before victory, as Professor Yoon said. But now it's a really dramatic change toward a new concept symbolizing new horizon, also as embracing Asia, not only just for Korea. That is important development.
I see. Now let's try to reflect upon what we did during the process and what worked this time, which differentiate the third bid from the 2 previous ones. So what was the difference this time, and what did we do in the right way compared to the previous ones?
Yes, I think the 2010 and 2014 bid served a fertilizer to the success of 2018 Games. We started with the theme of the reunification of the Korean Peninsula, and try to appeal and try to garner some sympathy from the international community. And that didn't work very well because of many behind-the-scene reasons. And this time, 2018, they developed carefully and cautiously the themes, how to appeal to the IOC members' heart, not the brain and head. And it worked a miracle that the Pyeongchang started with a dream, and then they honored the promises made to the IOC. So number one is a dream program through which Pyeongchang invited many young children from the countries where winter sports is not favorable and with no snow. And then it was kind of Olympic solidarity program for young children. And it worked a miracle and good responses from the many countries with no winter season. And IOC was surprised that Pyeongchang continued to deploy as a dream program, inviting children since 2004 until now. Until
so
now
kept
is
the
about
promise.
yes 60 nations and 1,000 participants, among which 12 dream program athletes actually took part in the Olympic Winter Games.
That's great.
It's a human drama. And secondly, Pyeongchang promised to build all the needed infrastructure and venues, and they did, because at that time, when we explained the venue layout, it was just on paper. And then the second visit, IOC Evaluation Commission members, they really paid their compliments to our efforts, because it was a transformation of the just merely the potato cultivation land into a Alpensia, is the Alps in Asia complex. It contains not only 2 IOC hotels, all the necessary facilities, 7 out of 13 the venues were completed and in operation, and hosted many international level world championship as a verification. This is few examples of how Pyeongchang honored promises. And this is a very important moment for Pyeongchang.
In addition to the lessons that we learned from those 2 failed attempts to win the games, we have used that experience in building more stable and solid ground to make the 3rd bidding. So you're saying that in addition to moving the IOC members' heart, we've actually built the facilities that would be used in the games. So yes, I think Pyeongchang as a place has transformed itself in a really remarkable way. So what do you think is the difference that the 3rd bidding has?
I think actually what makes it difference is, as he said, it's a dream program, because the concept was not for just victory for only Koreans, but reflecting on noble aspirations based on responsibility philosophy to take care of young promising players for the world sports and the Asian development. This means by those benefits from Pyeongchang Olympic would be extended to other developing countries to support in fertile circumstances. This is based on responsible and sustainable development vision and management. I like this point of view.
I see. So it really works with the philosophy of the Olympic spirit,
Exactly, yes.
Sharing.
Exactly. Not only victory, but
not
also
only victory, but sharing
value.
Sharing
for
value and sharing ideas
yes,
and
right.
spreading the spirit of sport. So I think they've developed these novel ideas in many respects. But let's talk about the presentation itself. Very specifically, many people say that this year's presentation was a great success, and it really made difference in the outcome of the voting. So what was the formula for the success?
Yes, the presentation was fantastic. It focused on why Olympics should be held in Pyeongchang toward the future. It is a futuristic vision. It was really a carefully planned and organized presentation and responsible, reflecting on responsibility. Also, actually, special presentations by President Lee was responsible and extraordinary, and Kim Yuna and Toby Dawson were outstanding. Kim Yuna moved IOC members as a touching story of road to gold medal despite of poor infrastructure and a very difficult situation. Probably you may better than me about Toby Dawson.
Yes, I think those 7 people participated in the presentation.
8 people.
Eight people.
That,
I see.
It was an emotionally charged presentation, and you know, it was a human drama and success story of the 8 elements performed by 8 people presenters, and I still vividly remember it was they have 8 different themes that each presenter delivered. Is first by our spokesperson Ra Sing-hyun, done for logics. Number 2 is by President Lee Myung-bak, is persuasion and confidence, emotion, truth, and friendship, and humor, and hope. 8 elements served very well, perfectly, to the hearts and minds and souls of the IOC members. That stirred their judgments, and then I think that presentation brought us at least 13 votes additionally. That is the victory of the Korean people, and that's why the presenters, they insisted that the Pyeongchang's presentation this time, it was a result of the patience and persistence and perseverance. And this is 3 elements that the whole world praised for Pyeongchang's continued effort, the 3rd consecutive time.
So I think we now have just a few minutes left for today's program. But I think we have been very excited and delighted, of course. But what should we do to prepare for a successful Winter Olympics?
It's a very important task and mission to be accomplished by the Pyeongchang Olympic Organizing Committee, called the POCOC, Pyeongchang Olympic Committee of Olympic Games, they call it. And Pyeongchang, immediately after the announcement ceremony in Durban, they signed some kind of contract. We called it host city contract. It's done, which contained more than 300 legally binding factors. And we have to abide by all the commitment made to the IOC and to the whole world Olympic movement. First, within 5 months, we have to set up an organizing committee comprising of many experts, specialists, and people with enthusiastic mission, and that the president of the organizing committee should be decided, and Secretary General as well, and we have to set up a planning of the budget as a promise to the IOC, and also the ODA should be established, ODA, Olympic Development Delivery Authority, that will be in charge of the constructing and managing and controlling all the facilities and infrastructure. And at the same time, one of the weakest points of the Asian countries is the foreign language skills. We have to set up a special unit to train and drill the future staff and volunteers which will be trained, and that is another important mission. And the third thing is that the Olympics is a $5 billion business, and we have already secured more than $1 and $2 billion by the recent contract between IOC and the American TV company Comcast and NBC. And also the top sponsor, top partnership, sponsorship license, and the suppliership. And Pyeongchang is supposed to earn a lot of revenues and income and profits. But the organizing committee should play a very pivotal role in maximizing and increasing the amount of the income from the Olympic trend because of Pyeongchang is now become very strong power brand in the whole world. The first thing we have to do is we have to register the domain of Pyeongchang and names and logos in order to be internationally protected. And a lot of things to be done, but I'm sure that Korea is good reputed to have a perfect organization of the international level event, including sports.
I do agree with you. I think the experience of having this very successful 1988 Summer Olympics in Korea will be really helpful for us to prepare for another successful Olympics this time. I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today's show. I would like to thank Professor Yoon, Professor Yeo for joining us and sharing your ideas and insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you.